It's so hard being a good person, trying to keep a level head, trying to be the bigger person in every situation. Have people talk about you knowing they're talking about you. Have people disrespect and be rude and be fake in front of you, and you choose the higher road because that's how you were raised. Having morals, believing in that humanity will change one day. Having hope that people will stop being assholes. And it's hard because in a lot of situations, especially as a person of color, as an African American, there's so many of us that have this anger that lingers on the inside, and we can't let it out. We can't say nothing. We can't show it. We can't even show microaggression, just the slightest bit of anger, because of the fear of being labeled as ghetto or overdramatic or as violent. The moment one of us shows that we're angry, we're a threat. And there's this label that will hang over our heads that we are a danger to society. And you look at half of the things, half of the events that have ever happened in the history of America, of a history of the world, where someone has been abusive, where someone has shot someone or murdered or beat people. It's not always African American people, but when it comes to being black, when it comes to having some type of melanin inside of you, you're forced to shut up because of years and years of being taught, being told that our race, our quote unquote animals, or our race is quote unquote this and this and this, and then you realize that the only way to break out of that stigma and that stereotype is to not say anything, is to not feel, is to not let anyone know what's going on. And it hurts me so bad because who do you go to? What do you say? What if I don't want to articulate that I'm upset with a situation? What if I don't want to have to wait till I'm around my own people to speak my mind and to say what is on my mind and to feel like a fucking human being? It's like I feel like a robot when I'm not around people that understand me. When I'm not around people that look like me, I feel like there's this facade, this mask that I put on, so I'm not labeled as all these horrible derogatory names that my ancestors and the people before them were named. I go into the workplace and I let people talk to me like I'm nothing. I let people disrespect me in ways knowing that I cannot, as a human being of color, can say something back to them because of the fear of being labeled as the stereotypical angry black woman, as the fear of my reputation of being problematic, an issue. And I've seen so many people in my life blow up. I've seen so many people in my life do way crazier things than I could ever think, and they were never labeled half of the things a POC is labeled. The reason I'm such a good person is because my mother raised me to be an amazing fucking human being. And what makes me mad is that I'm also a good person because fear of being labeled or being called one of those horrific names that one of my ancestors or one of my great-grandparents or brothers or sisters or cousins were called. I carried myself in fear that one day someone will look at me, regardless if it's an officer, a stranger, a person that doesn't look like me and see me as a threat, see me as a target, see me as something that they can take away from this planet, see me as someone that's not equal. And so I have so much pain in my heart, because who am I allowed to go to say I'm sad, and to say I'm angry, and to say I'm feeling something, and to express myself, and to say everything that's wrong with society or the workplace, and not immediately have this fear of being labeled something, or have this fear of being outcasted or shunned or looked down upon, because I actually am a intelligent black woman, or I actually can articulate myself and speak my mind. When am I allowed to walk around and not be afraid to pop off on someone because they did me wrong, or I can disrespect them as much as they disrespect me? When am I allowed to no longer bite my tongue and say what needs to be said? When can my people walk on this planet and truly be them, and not constantly put on a face to survive every day? Why can't I not feel bad and not be labeled crazy, or not be labeled as a threat? When am I allowed to feel safe and feel loved and feel happy and not question I'm a good person? Because I'm so afraid that if I lose who I am, every bad person, every manipulator, every abuser would drown the people that are trying to do good in this world out, that will eventually wash us away, because they rather live in misery than see light. And it's so hard waking up and trying to do my best and trying to stay positive and trying to give amazing messages and be that person I never had and be that role model I never had. And it's hard to motivate and to teach and to lead when everyone around you wants to tear you down, wants to talk about you, wants to disrespect you, wants to put a label on your head, wants to make you seem as something that you're not. It's tiresome fighting 10 times harder just to seem like a decent person than somebody that's fucking horrible and they're not fighting at all to look like a god. People think screaming Black Lives Matter is some woke statement. It's some 15-second fame slogan. But I scream it because I am afraid that if it's not spoken loud enough, we as POCs would never be seen. We would never grow. We would never evolve. And we want to say that society has come so far and has done so much, and it's way better than it was 70 years ago or 80 years ago or 100 years ago. But society didn't evolve. It did not evolve. We just got different names for the same shit. Slavery is still a thing. We just call it a prison now. We call it human trafficking. We still have millions and millions of Ronnie Kings. People are still being neglected, abused, shot, killed. It's nothing new. And it didn't change, and it didn't get better, and racism didn't leave. It didn't just stop. The human race didn't just wake up one day and just said, okay, we're not going to be racist. No, it's just being recorded now. People are still getting shot down and beat just like they were in the 60s. And we think just because the year number changed, we think just because technology got better, things have evolved, that the humans did as well. And it's not that. It might not be out there in your face, but things are same. And there's still a lot of pain and misery on this planet. There's still a lot of change, a lot of work that needs to be done so that any one of us can feel safe one day, so that any one of us can walk out and feel like they are comfortable expressing who they are or saying how they feel or being their true selves without the repercussions of being labeled as a angry black person or ghetto or problematic, hard to work with. And every day we say nothing. We go on about our lives as people of color and don't express our anger and don't express our fears and our pain and our sadness that lurks inside of us. We never say anything out of that fear of being ostracized, out of that fear of no one caring. But we have names and we have families and we have personalities and love and lives that we deserve to live, even if you might not want to share the grounds that we walk on. We wake up every day to survive, to pray that us and our family members make it home every day, to pray that the people that aren't making it home every day, that their families are okay. It's no different than it was 20 years ago. It's no different than it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And you can sit here and you can yell and say it is, and that so much is different. But I can give you a case from today and compare it to something that was 60 years ago. I can show you a video that looks like the Rodney King video. I can name you 5 kids that were murdered this year that will remind you of Emmett Till, or that will remind you of Tamir Rice, Trayvon Martin. I can name names that has happened in the last decade that will remind you from a case in the 30s. I can show you footage of things that has happened today that has happened in the 80s. I can go through the prison records and give you names of people locked up and compare them to the ones that were abused back in the day. I can give you Fred Hampton stories, Martin Luther King stories, Malcolm X stories, and compare them to now. I, as an African American woman, ask for peace. I ask not to be looked at as a dog or as an object or as something that's just not even alive. I ask that even if you live a miserable, sad, manipulative, gaslighting life, that you don't bring it down on others, and that if you see me or my brothers or my sisters or anyone that is just trying to make it out here in the world, you don't assume and you don't pick a fight because you feel like you have the right to. I ask that you don't stand around if one of us is getting hurt or abused or almost shot, and you say something, and that you see me as an equal. You don't have to like me. You don't have to talk to me. You don't have to love me. You don't have to even eat dinner with me. But if we walk along the street, don't see me as a person that will rob you. Don't see me as a person that you should call the police on. I ask that you just see me as a person and you just walk by me. Don't clench your purse. And if I raise my voice, don't see me as violent. And if I cry or if I speak my mind, don't see me as problematic. Just see me as a human being. And if I want to talk about being oppressed, and if I want to talk about the pain that I feel and the thoughts that linger in my mind, allow me to have that space to talk about those things and not make me feel bad as because it's not happening to me, but it is something that is happening all across the world, and it has happened to my ancestor. If I want to talk about the pain that resonates in my heart, don't see it as somebody that is speaking from attention, but understand that we talk about our fears and we talk about police brutality and oppression and abuse and pain because it still happens. It might not seem as severe as it once was. It might not be as massive as it once was, but stories come out every day, every hour, every second about how another person was killed and another person was shot, or how another home was broken into and a recording came out for this. Give us that space to fight for what's ours and for who we are and the right to live and to speak and to shout and to be beautifully us. Give us that space to be free.